Now you want to talk and make it snappy, cause my buddy here is trigger happy.
Where is Char? Coordinates 90B Mark 8.
Wait, here it is. I thought it was a smudge in the screen.
Yeah, that fits their description of Char.
Good enough.
Welcome back to the Tide Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the FansToys FT-52 Aussie, and this is their take on a very G1-esque version of Outback, and yeah, he does look pretty good. How does he stack up to other Outback releases, and how does he... Well, he's pretty good overall. But anyway, I did get this at Show Z, and you can get yours there too. I'll have a link down below where you can get yours, but without further ado, let's take a look at FansToys Aussie. All right, let's take a quick look at the box. It just looks like typical FansToys packaging, and you know, better than the last one that we got, right? It actually looks like FansToys packaging, unlike what happened with the Outrider. So, kind of can see some stuff that's going on right there that we can do. We will look at all of that. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this video as short and sweet as possible because we have actually seen Hunk, and this is just a slight redesign of Hunk, but there are some differences. So we will go through those when they're side by side, but the transformation is very similar also. So with that though, he does look pretty good. So one of the things is that he does have that kind of metallic brown. How often do you see metallic brown on a figure? You don't ever really. So also he has kind of a wide stance, which that's the way it's supposed to look from the original G1. And so yeah, that looks pretty good. There is some interesting paint apps going on here and right here. And then of course his visor's painted. Now I think this is painted, but it really, just from looking at it, almost looks like bare plastic, but I think it is painted with a pearlescent type of white paint right there and paint on the side right there. So that does look pretty good. You can still tell the difference between like this is, well, maybe the whole thing is painted. There's a lot of paint on this guy, so, but it does look like slightly different tans from here to here, but that could be shading, lighting. Pretty clean from the back, kind of got the wheels in the back there, but that's a good way to do it. That's probably the best way to do it, and don't really need an extra panel to cover that. So yeah, overall, pretty good looking figure, and he feels pretty solid. He's got some heft and weight to him. I believe this is die cast here, and there is a few bits of pieces of die cast. You can feel it in the weight in this guy, in the thighs, I think. That's not even that cold, but it does feel like there's some die cast in here, definitely in here. So he does have some weight. Some has some presence. Not bad looking at all. For articulation, his box on his head moves a little bit. I don't want to try to make it move too much, but yeah, there it goes. Even if you unclip the backpack, I don't think it moves all that much. The head inside, it moves a little bit too. Not much at all. This piece disconnects for the transformation and all that kind of stuff. Now, the shoulders, if you have them tabbed in real tight, there it goes like this. You could get lots of extra range with untabbing the shoulders. I think it comes untabbed. It also comes with the waist flip backwards. You have to just pull the backpack out and flip it around. But, okay, so you get that, or you get that, depending on what you want to do. And then all the way around, like so. Bicep swivel. Be careful with these. I mean, I haven't actually ever seen anyone break them off on Hunk yet, and mine haven't, but be careful. Just be mindful with the force. And then bicep swivel, and it is not a double hinge, but I don't really need it that much. Side to side right here, and you've got like the typewriter figures. Okay, getting down to the waist, you do have the waist swivel. No ab crunch, but you know, really, do you need an ab crunch if you can do that and all that kind of stuff? Now these hip flaps are kind of weird because they're so big. It's just strange, but it does sort of, in a way, follow the leg, but you can have his hip flap touch his knee. His hip flap touches his knee, so that's he's making a fashion statement. He's bringing in long hip flaps. I believe this is a double. Nope, it's only a single joint right here, but it goes past the 90. And then we have a mid-thigh cut, which is interesting. And then you got toe articulation. I think that's about it. Very little. Is it? Very little. It's tight. That's real tight. So anyway, articulation's not the greatest, but pretty much all you would need, especially with kind of a background obscure type of character. Now for getting into his accessories, he does come with this gun, and I can't tell if it's painted at all or if it's just cast in that color. So still, I mean, it's nothing. I don't really expect a whole lot with the gun. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Now this one here, so this is kind of interesting. This one, you can put batteries in it, make it light up. This is a Megatron cannon, and let's see, we should be able to slide this off here. Slide forward, and then in here, there's a compartment for, it's tight, for some batteries. So these little ones are the ones that I used them all up on my Minotaur, or my Superion heads. Yes, Superion heads, and maybe it's a Bruticus head. The ones from Zeta. So I used all those up, and they're all dead inside the heads. So I'm just not going to mess with it. But it's kind of cool. But with them being so small, they don't last very long, which is kind of a downside. But it is what it is, I guess you could say. But this actually has two functions that you'll probably want to utilize it for, so let's go ahead and show that. Function 1 is being held by the hunk of burning love over here, and he's got it. And if you have the batteries in it, you push this button here. I think it's this one? No, this one, to turn it on. So, pretty cool. But it actually has another function other than just being like just being there. It fits on your MP36, so if that's something that you want, it can slide in and out. And so it's smaller than the original one that came with MP36. And this is Mag-10. Mag-10 is the KO, shiny KO equivalent. So some people think that this gun is a little bit too big, so let's give them a smaller one from FansToys. But what I think is this a hint that FansToys has other things in the works, you know, like a Megatron? Possibly, if they've already gone through considering this, but it's interesting that they made it match MP36 and the connection point. So that's something I've never seen FansToys do, include an accessory that can be used on an official. Well, okay, that's how they started with that trailer, right? Last accessory, we have a smiling head that I'm not going to really bother putting on. It doesn't look much different other than he's got a smile. So anyway, accessories, there's not a lot, but it packs a bit of a punch. One thing I didn't notice about this is there's a slot in his hand right there for the gun to slide into, and I literally just slid his gun into an almost closed hand, and I didn't realize that that was there. I just was like, oh, let's just slide this in, and it was so smooth that it wasn't even an issue. And so that is pretty good. I like that because this gun's going nowhere. It's not going anywhere. So that is pretty good. That's pretty slick. I like that. Getting into a bit of comparisons, I want to say this is the most important part, the comparisons, because of the fact that this is a retool of Hunk or the Brawn, and you can see the similarities. You can see similarities in these lower leg areas, but they're similar yet different. Like, the pieces are not the same. It's a similar design, but they're not the same. They might see, it's just there's so many differences in them that it's almost hard to say it's a repaint because it's not. Like, the forearm's different, the shoulder is different, the backpack is slightly different. There are some similarities, of course, but it's just so much different. It's amazing how much different this is. And so, you know, I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, they just kind of recolored it and repackaged it. And the transformation is very, very similar. So it's just mind-blowing how close they are to the same, yet they're different. Just down to, I guess if you can look at the shoulder areas are similar, but still not the same. It's not the exact same part. It's all new mold. So just, that is impressive overall. So here he is in comparison to what I have hanging around up here, the B team. This is a KO of MP44. This is FansToys because, you know, X-Transbots Virtus replaced him, and then this is X-Transbots because FansToys replaced him, and then we could put him next to his buddy Hunk. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, he's a pretty decent sized bot, but he's a mini bot. Overall, I think it works. Alright, so here he is next to a G1 figure, and as you can see, like, look where we have come from, and look where we have gone. But there's a lot of similarities that they carried forward from the figure overall, but combining the two wheels into the one is smart, but they keep this spare tire looking thing on the back and all that, just kind of the whole profile. The winch is still there, so that all works. And the design cues with the kind of the coloration going on here and here is about the same. So they did keep quite a bit from the original toy. And of course, the original toy inspired the animation, but you know, this original toy was not a very good toy back in the day, but this is pretty good. So here he is next to Bad Cubes, which Bad Cubes was the best for the longest time until right now. Well, I guess 2 months ago when it first started showing up, but right now, this one's better. So the thing about it is, I feel like they took the character and just squished him down when they made the Bad Cube one. Like, he's got short and stubby legs, and he's just shorter and stockier than the character. And so with that, I think this is much better. Now, I did check on eBay real quick. 2 months ago, this guy was still commanding over $100. And I looked at sales 2 months ago, and if you add the shipping and the price, it was like $120 to $150 for each one of those cells. Today, you can get them for $50 out the door. So it's pretty obvious that collectors are dumping this guy now that this guy's here. All right, so here it is in the alt mode, and I gotta say, I'd never intended to show the transformation on this because I thought it was like exactly the same as Hunk, and as I went through it, halfway through it, I realized, wow, this is so different. So I should have shown it, I'm sorry, but just put in the comments below if it was really a big deal that I didn't show the transformation on this one. I mean, I'm going to show it on all the future ones and stuff, but anyhow, pretty cool looking alt mode overall, and so looking at it, yeah, it looks good. I feel like this one does a lot better than what we got with Hunk, because like this bottom area seems to hold together better. The whole thing seems to hold together better. So they've kind of redesigned it, and I think they did a good job on that. So Hunk did have a few things where it just felt like it was kind of hollow here and didn't hold together, and this piece just flapped around and stuff like that. So my face did fall off, and actually if you pop the face off, it rolls a little bit better. If you pop the face off, maybe I did something wrong on that, but still, it looks really good, really a lot like the vintage one, but with a little bit of a modern flair to it. So I mean, just really does. It looks like a high-end, kind of like a very expensive, like maybe a, I don't know what brand it would be, but a very expensive, not a Hummer, but a really expensive one of these. Now, it does have some back metalized on the wheels, which we don't see in the bot mode. There's a little bit of paint here and translucent frosted windows there. So there's a combination of translucent, frosted, and paint. They didn't go with blue. If Takara did this figure, I bet you it would have blue windows. So I'm not sure why we're getting away from the blue windows and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just the character, I don't know, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm really impressed with the alt mode and how it has this little winch looking thing right here. It really is a pretty good alt mode. So one of the features, you do transform this by pushing the handle forward, and then you clip it onto here, and yeah, you got that. You can adjust it, display it like this, you know, kind of like you could back in the day, I guess. But this is an interesting little function, and obviously they engineered it in. It's not like it was a happy accident. They put a pin and separated it out on purpose. This thing spins. So yeah, that's a nice little feature, nice little function that they put in. So starting out the comparisons in the alt mode, I do want to point out that this vintage one, it looks a lot like the vintage one, except it looks longer. Like they elongated it and made it look like, you know, much more high-end premium than just the Jeep that it was based on. But I don't know what Jeep it was based on originally. And this is one of those oddballs that I never saw as a kid or had as a kid, and so I have no connection to the character or figure, whatever. But now that I've had this guy for like 20 years, so now I'm kind of like, yeah, it's one of those that I already have, and it's nice to see the toy made into an actual masterpiece. But I mean, the character was in the show a couple of times. Okay, so this is compared to Final Victory, which Final Victory was going for a completely different thing, as you can see right here. It actually kind of looks like a stomper now that I look at it. But, so, one thing I want to say, when I got, it was 2 years ago, I guess, because I was just looking up my Braun video as a transformation, and I was going to link that. But this was, Final Victory was my Braun, and then I converted it, transformed it to alt mode, because Braun for the FansToys was in the bot mode, and I've been using this guy for comparisons ever since. But this is, I think, the most important comparison overall. Let's see the back too. Like, you're not going to see Final Victory comparisons in alt mode anywhere else, are you? Here he is next to MP44-ish. It's KO, the first version of KO. You can see the size comparison right there. You remember that one scene in the 1986 movie where he was on Junkion with all of these guys? Oh, you don't? Well, neither do I. But anyway, that's what he looks like next to X-Transbots, Takara, FansToys, Jin Balke oversize of a mainline figure. Alright, so what do I think about this guy? I think it's a really good figure overall. It's a solid transformation, holds together solid in both modes, and a couple of small little gimmicks. Doesn't come with a ton of accessories, but a nice upgrade to the original vintage toy, and the best masterpiece one on the market. You know, some of the other ones are going to get kicked to the curb. And so with that, pricing wise, around $100, I mean, that's just what we're expecting nowadays. And I think that's a decent price for the mini bots. They haven't gotten outrageous or anything. I don't think there's a huge demand for this character, so it's a possibility you might catch one on sale. But I'm going to have a link down below at Show Z where you can get yours. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Tydirium Hanger out.
How are we gonna find the Decepticons? It's like a needle in a haystack.
Not with my trusty Decepticon detector.
No such thing.
You know that, and I know that, but... Let's see if the Decepticon detector knows something that you don't.
Somebody must have squealed on us. Just about got it.
At ease, Ramhorn. It's just a projection. I must have triggered it by accident. Skylings, enough fun and games. Get us out of here. That energy field just drained me. We'll have to open them up. Excuse me. You look like you could use a little energon. Bars present a little problem, don't you think? Ask me when we're back on Cybertron. Make sure Skylinks is ready to launch. I'll bet they'd love to have that journal at the peace conference.
Then let's get it alone and bring it on home.
All right, on my signal. Look out!